Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Hey, no message and no preaching today. I have Phil Session with me today. Good to have you, Phil.
Thanks for having me, David.
So Phil and I are just going to relax today. We're going to talk about being good without God, something that Phil and I, as activists, run into quite a bit when we talk with believers, when we're doing good things for the community and for needy people. So we just want to talk about that. So I haven't known Phil very long, but I know that Phil is very, very active in the atheist community, secular humanism, in San Antonio and Austin. So before I turn it over to Phil, before we have our nice little dialogue here, I do want to kind of read just a little bit of his background and a little bit of his bio, and then we're going to touch on each one, and I'll let Phil talk. So let me tell you viewers what Phil is involved in. The coordinator for Austin Atheists Helping the Homeless. That's a good one. Atheists Helping the Homeless in San Antonio. Lackland Air Force Base Humanist Atheist Meeting. Volunteer. Member of the Board of Directors and volunteer coordinator for Atheist Community of Austin. Texas Ramp Project volunteer. We definitely want to talk about that here in a moment. Keep Austin Beautiful. San Antonio Food Bank and Garden, Capital Area Food Bank. I used to go out and do that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
boxing up food for people, and it's very secular. Let's see, San Antonio River Authority cleanup. Let's see, Mission Reach tree planting San Antonio, and Austin Tree Folks tree planting. So, so Phil, tell us a little bit about your background before we get into this. Mm-hmm. And let the viewers know, were you raised in religion or was it more of a secular background? And then what was your journey into atheism and secular humanism?
Okay. I'll try to keep it brief just for the sake of your audience, but I was raised as a Southern Baptist. I actually had two religions. They were both Christian going on, but my mother's side was the Southern Baptist side, while my father's side was Free Church of God in Christ, which was an interesting thing, going to church on Saturday for the Free Church and the Sunday for the Southern Baptist Church. There were two different churches and very interesting services, but was brought up very religious. A lot of my family is still very religious. That's just the way that they do things. I mean, my grandmother, until the day she died, that was always her saying, like, you know, she has us some good Jesus. Like that's just what she did. But for me, for atheism, to make a long story short, when I was in college, you know, I'm being exposed to a variety of cultures. I was originally in computer science engineering. So going into the engineering building, there were a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of different religions represented within that building. So a lot of my classes, just a wide variety of people. And so during that time, I started thinking about why I identified as a Southern Baptist Christian. Like, specifically, why do I identify as this? And I guess taking an honest look at that, I realized that probably the main reason I call myself that and identify as such is because I was raised in it. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking, what if I was raised in another belief system? I would be something else. And so I kind of started disassociating myself with Christianity, but I still kept the God belief. So I identified as spiritual but non-religious. That particular title, which is interesting now. Mm-hmm. But later on, this was after I moved down here to San Antonio in 2013, I had another, I guess, just an introspective look at myself, I guess just what you can call it. But it was kind of a conversation with myself saying, well, why do I believe in the deity at all? If I wasn't raised to believe that a deity existed, would I believe? What evidence do I have that any deity exists at all? And coming to that realization that, well, I don't have any at all. If I wasn't raised in this, I wouldn't believe it, period, more than likely. Yeah. Therefore, unless I can see evidence to believe that there's a deity, let alone a specific religion to adhere to, then I'm not going to adhere to any at all until such evidence comes forth. And so that was my journey to atheism. But within that, like, I guess maybe a couple weeks later, after I kind of reached that point of realizing that I didn't believe in a deity, and I didn't even know the word atheist at that point. I had never been introduced to that word growing up. It's always been someone that rejects the word of God or who rejects Jesus. That's the way it's always been said versus the word atheist. But when I realized that I was an atheist, that I didn't believe in a deity, which also meant the afterlife that I had been presented with was no longer the case, it kind of made me think about my life in terms of I only have maybe 50 to 80 years, if I'm lucky or so, to be on this earth, to have an impact on other people, to love, to be loved, to just interact with others in general, to enjoy myself and to share pain or whatever else. And so that is really the catalyst that drove me to start wanting to have an impact on the world. And the way that initially started was through the Atheists Helping the Homeless, originally in San Antonio. That was the first one I had gone to, my first volunteer event since I moved down here. And that's really what jump-started all of the things that you read off earlier. And that's just kind of how I've led my life. And so it's just grown into this. Yeah. But it started from that realization that we have no evidence of an afterlife. This is the only life that we have evidence that we have. And so what kind of impact can I have? And I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't have a lot of money. I don't have just money to give away. I sometimes have to juggle bills. It just depends on what goes on. But I do have time, and I do have an able body at this time. So, why not help others and help their short time on this planet as well be a little bit better?
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah, I'm Phil, you probably run into the same thing I do when you talk to believers. It's so hard for some believers, especially those that are on the extreme right, where they hear messages in their church or from Fox News, that those of us that lack belief in God or are atheist or secular humanist, it's so hard for them to understand, why do we care for needy people? Why do we want to make a difference without that? Like I debated 2 or 3 preachers and people this week, and they all mentioned that to me. They said, but would you care? Why do you go out and feed homeless? Why do you go out and do different things that are good for humanity to try to make this world better? And it's just fascinating to me why they would think that. And to me, the reason it's hard for them to believe it is because of that book called the Bible. If you read it, it's pretty clear that the message for unbelievers is pretty bleak, right? We're wicked, we're immoral, we have no love and no kindness, and so forth. So when I do have debates and talks with Christians, and a lot of my messages on my channel, I do bring up different atheists and secular humanists, yourself, Joe Zemecki, who started the Atheist Helping the Homeless, Virginia Miller, had her on my show a year ago. So different people that are out there doing good. So what is your response to believers and Christians and all religious people when they ask you, but you're an atheist, you wearing an atheist shirt, where does this drive, this innate, they don't think it's innate, but where does this drive come from? What's the prime mover of your compassion and love for helping these needy people?
Yeah, that's a question that we get sometimes, even during the Helping the Homeless giveaways. We'll have religious folks from other groups there that are also helping individuals, and we'll have people that are coming through the line that see the shirt, Atheists Helping the Homeless, and some people will ask, well, what's that? Or some people will know exactly what that is, and kind of ask the same question, well, why are you here? What's your ministry? Or where's your reading material? Where's your books? Because that's what a lot of people expect. Because a lot of the groups out there will actually give religious material and things out to people that come through. But my answer revolves around the same premise that, like I mentioned earlier, if right now this is the only evidence of any life that we're going to have, we don't have evidence of any other afterlife. So this is the time we have. This is what we've got. And on this planet, since I lack a belief in any deity that's out there, what also comes from that is we're all we have. If someone doesn't assist, someone that's down, living under the bridge or something like that, well, who's going to do it? It's humans helping humans, people interacting and helping each other to, get a leg up. I would love to live in a world that if someone found themselves down a little, they lost their job, and a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck anyway, where 1 or 2 missed paychecks will mean their rent can't be paid, they can't do X, Y, Z. They'll be homeless within 1 or 2 paychecks being missed. And when you get in that situation, I would love to live in a world where people can lend a helping hand. You don't have much, but you have just a little bit, so you can afford to buy, a couple of toothbrushes to hand out, be able to assist someone while they get themselves back on their feet in order to, come back into society to be a productive member of society. But while they're down and out, you're there to help them get through this tumultuous time, because a lot of people are very detached from their life. And being down in San Antonio, talking with people who have found themselves homeless, there was one individual in Austin, and I talked to her. I saw her almost every time that we did the giveaway, and she was in her high 20s, so relatively young, and she looked fit. She didn't look sickly, anything like that. But I was asking, because a lot of people are just low income. They might necessarily be homeless, but low income, and they'll come down there for assistance. But she was saying that she's currently she was laid off by her job, and she was trying to find another job, but she couldn't within a timely manner. So when rent came due, she couldn't pay it. So the eviction process was very quick for her, and even though she said she tried to work with the property manager, it just didn't work. So she found herself living out of her car. And that was working for a while, because she said she had somewhere to go back to. She can go there, lock her doors, and be shielded from the elements to a degree, more so than other people who don't have a car. And so just listening that she was trying her best to get out of that situation, applying at McDonald's, anywhere that she could, anywhere that would take her in order to have some income so that she can move somewhere. But she had to come down there in order to get supplies, in order to just survive, because she had no means. She had to have gas to run her car, to have AC during the summertime, or heat during the winter. But at some point, her inspection and registration, that's due, and that's $100 and some odd to get that done. And so she eventually had to kind of let her car stay in place, not abandon it, but it was still there. And the battery started running out, maintenance, all these things started happening, and for her it just spiraled further and further down. And I love the fact, it wasn't much that we were providing. I try to give her resources, going to the city of Austin, talking with their social workers, or trying to get some help. But it was just a bad situation, and she was doing everything right. She had a phone for a while, so she could actually make calls. She was trying to get there, but she just couldn't get that leg up, and was finding herself falling deeper and deeper as things were started, being taken away. It was a very sad situation. So to be able to help her a little bit in my small way, to help her survive just a little bit longer, so hopefully she can get out of that situation, I like that. I wish I could do more, but that little bit.
You do a lot. You do plenty, Phil. Yeah. Now,
a little bit.
Let me cut you off for a second. I had a talk with a couple Baptist Christians at Starbucks a few weeks ago. And we had some good dialogue, and I was explaining to them about what different atheists do for the community and so forth. It's human to help each other and so forth. It's hard for them to understand this. But I mentioned what people like you do and all the different activisms we do to help the needy. And they were just confused, and they said, man, you and these other people sound more Christ-like than most Christians I know. So, and what I always tell believers is, first of all, this is not just being Christ-like, this is human.
Yeah.
The religion of Christianity is anti-human, because we're born in sin according to the Bible, right? We need to be repaired and fixed. We're born selfish and all this stuff. So when you explain to believers that we have it as human beings, as a social species, genetically, to take care of each other, as a gregarious social species, and all other animal species that are a social type species, they always do that reciprocal altruism. It's about taking care and helping each other.
Sure.
But it's so hard for believers to really grasp these concepts. But I thought that was kind of interesting that they said, boy, those guys sound more Christ-like than most Christians.
Yeah, I've gotten that here and there, which is just funny, but that's just, I can understand their frame of mind, where they're coming from with that. the way they were taught. Like that's how some of the people in my family who are, of course, religious regard what I do. You know, I've heard, you know, you're doing God's work. And I'm just like, well, that's one perspective to look at it.
Or you're copying Christianity.
Right.
I've got that too.
Or you're, you know, you grew up in this faith, so you're trying to kind of imitate it in your own way. And it's very hard, like you said, to bridge that gap, to let them know that, you know, this is just because I care about people and try to do my little bit to try to help other people in the world. As small as it is, it's something. And I'm going to put my full faith and effort into doing so.
I got to tell you, you'll appreciate this one. One of my former clients, I'm a personal trainer. I think most of my viewers know this. So I go into clients' homes and I train them.
Okay.
So this guy trained for 3 or 4 years, very, very strong Christian, very, very socially conservative and fundamentalist Baptist Christian. But we got along. We just kept the religion out of it, right?
Okay.
So he did have a question for me one time. Of course, he had his Fox News blaring on the TV in his home. I had to tolerate that while I'm training the guy. But he knew that I go down occasionally and help Joe and the different people feeding the homeless, atheists helping the homeless and so forth. So he got real serious with me. He said, David, I've got a question for you. He goes, I don't understand. You're an atheist. I go, yeah. He goes, so you're down there with other atheists helping these homeless people. I go, yes. I've already told you, yes. He goes, well, how do you know they're not just using you? How do you know that these people are not frauds? How do you know that they're just using you for other reasons and so forth? Maybe they have a home, maybe they have a job, and they're scam artists. I said, well, you know, it's possible. Some of them may be. I talk to people down there. You probably do more than I do, Phil. Some of them may be. But you know what? I told this guy, I don't know what's in that person's mind. I mean, I don't know what's happened in his life. I've never walked in his shoes. I don't know his story. I see a person in need, and human, not godly, human sympathy and empathy inside of us to help our fellow human being. Right? We see somebody hurting, we're moved with compassion. It's human virtue. And he was like, huh? You know. And he said, he was like, I don't understand. He said, so many of these people abuse the system. And then I asked him the question. He didn't like it. WWJD. They wear the little bracelets. And I even did an episode a year ago on my channel.
Okay.
What would Jesus do? Right? And I said, okay, let me ask you something. You believe Jesus is a deity, God's son? Yes, I do. If Jesus were here today and he were down under the bridge feeding the homeless, okay, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Would he go, this guy's using the system, this guy here is a fraud, whatever. What do you think that he would do? Would he be moved with his compassion? Did he not tell you to go out and reach out to the orphans and the widows in their affliction, to take off your clothes and give it to the needy and the poor, sell all your possessions and give them away and come follow me and be my disciple? What did he say? And he got angry at me. It didn't train with me much longer after that. Pretty much lost a client with my big mouth. Have you ever heard that one too? I mean...
yes, I've gotten some of that from some of my acquaintances. Some of my closer friends have also kind of put that out there. You know, how do you know they're not, like you said, just coming down to get some free stuff, and they actually have a home to go to and everything else. But my response is, I don't care. I literally don't care. If they're coming down here under the bridge with a lot of the homeless population of the city of Austin, at least in the central area, to get supplies, if you're making that effort to come down here and get supplies, go ahead and take this toothbrush. Go ahead and get this razor and toothpaste here. Go ahead. Like it's no problem. You take care of yourself, because that's what we're doing. It doesn't matter that situation. Like the name is helping the homeless, but we're helping anyone that's down there in that area, whether they have a home to go to or not. A lot of them don't, but I know some for a fact that do. There's one individual, she just got a job. She gave me a hug the last time we went out there, and I was so proud of her that she actually got employment. She's working part-time now, and things are starting to turn around for her, but she has some government assistance that is happening, so she's able to have a little bit of residence, but she still comes down there because she's still struggling to make it. I know she has a place to go to. I know she has a place to lay her head, but people need help, and so it doesn't matter people's situation. If they're coming down to this area in order to get supplies from these, feel free. Go through the line, like have at it. Like that's not a question that we pose. Hey, are you actually, like, there's no litmus test in order to get through the lines. If you queue up and we have supplies, feel free to come at it. Like it's no problem.
And what a lot of believers would say, and they've said this to me, well, moral capital, you've probably studied, moral capital is that stash of morality or capital from the Bible that we've had in our very Christian country for a couple hundred years, right? And they say, well, you secular humanists and atheists are using that capital and that stash, and you're getting your morality from the Bible and from these different religions and deities. And once you, atheists, eat up and use all the stash, look out, anarchy in the streets, crime, and so forth. And that's what moral capital.
Interesting.
And I've explained that to them, and they say, yeah, that's what I believe. You guys are just copying Christianity. I gave a banana to one of the people on the street corner. You know how they hold the signs up, you know.
Yeah, okay.
God bless, and the Jesus fish and cross. I have fun with these people. And they say, oh, thank you, sir. God bless you. You know, I always let them know, well, thanks. You know what? But I'm an atheist. It's human to help each other. They go, what? They're surprised, you know. But this one girl a couple weeks ago, she goes, you're an atheist? I go, yeah. She goes, well, you're just copying Christianity. And, of course, I explained to her what moral capital was, this falsity of moral capital. So let me go over a couple of these little things here, Phil, and you can expound on it real quick. So I know that you are a coordinator of Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless. So you took over from Joe, is that correct?
Yes. Joe, this was about, I think it was May of last year or so. That's when I kind of took over. It was me, Joe, and Brian that really kept AHH going and started building it back up. And it's flourished into something that's been phenomenal. Like the last giveaway, we had 18 volunteers that came out. We had people coming to drop things off. The Secular Student Alliance from UT Austin came out as well to help out on that side. And it's been phenomenal to see it grow the way that it has once again. So it's been a wonderful thing. So yeah, this has been going on for about a year for me now. And it's been phenomenal to see the people, and we're reaching so many more people. A lot of people didn't know that this even happens at all. And so getting that word out, putting it out on Facebook, and I made a new website for the Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless, and it's been a wonderful journey to see that.
Before I forget, would you mind giving my viewers your contact information, maybe those in San Antonio or Austin? Can you do that?
Oh, sure,
that
sure.
would like to get involved in many of the things that you do, outreach, and helping needy people.
Well, the first one that I'll give is the website for Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless, because if you send a message through there, then I get it. So, but the website itself is it's austinahh.org. So Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless. So it's austinahh.org. You can also look up Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless on Facebook as well. I'll also get those messages as well. I'm the admin on that channel there. So just find any one of those platforms and send a message if you are curious to help people, because we have people that send things that are not local to Austin. As a matter of fact, I have a few folks from Fort Hood, closer to the Army base up there, that send things over. Somebody made a painting for us with a kind of a new logo type of thing, and they sent it from, I think it was like Maryland or something like that. So that was pretty phenomenal on that side, that it's actually getting out that way. But yeah, just go to the website or to Facebook for Austin Atheist Helping the Homeless, and you can find all that information there. But yeah.
What about donations? Because I did an episode on atheist activism, direct atheist activism. People like me with big mouths that get right out there. And most atheists that would never do what I do, go out there and talk to Christians in their churches or wherever.
Sure.
But indirect atheist activism is very, very important. That's for the majority of you out there that are not wired like I am, a yacker. But you want to support activists. So those out there that believe in what you're doing, secular humanism and atheism and helping needy people, can they give donations?
They can. Right now, the way that it's set up, we can't take money donations just for tax purposes. That's not something that we can do. But actual items. So if you go out and buy, a couple deodorants or lotions or pads or tampons or something like that, There's a couple ways that you can do it. If you're local to the Austin area, then if you contact us through the same way, the austinahh.org or on the Facebook group, and say, hey, I have X to donate, but I can't make the giveaway. Is there a way that you can pick it up or drop it off? We have several people in Austin that are available to do so, and I'm also available on the weekends usually to go up and pick things up. But also, people can actually drop things here at this location, the ACA library itself. So I've had a couple people that their time schedule was erratic or whatever else. They had kids, lots of other obligations. So I just said, hey, at your own leisure, here's the address, and drop your items off here at the ACA library, and then I'll pick them up. Our librarian will take them inside and keep them, and I'll pick them up for the giveaway. And that's how multiple people have donated. Unfortunately, there was someone who donated lots of those little disposables you get, the shampoos, the conditioners, like a whole bag of those. We've gotten bags of toothbrushes. So that's an easy, convenient way that people can do. And also, people that are outside of this area, it's not convenient for you to drive here, or you're out of the city, out of state. You can also send things to the ACA library here at 1507 West Koenig Lane and put it to my attention, Phil Session, what have you. And when you send it here, the same process will happen. The librarian will take a note of that, and then I will come and pick them up so that I can distribute them at the giveaway. And that's how we've worked out a lot of that. A lot of people that can't make it to the giveaway, it's not convenient for them. They have to work, what have you. So it's really done very well.
Awesome, thank you. I do want to touch on one thing here. I know we don't have time to go over all the things, but one of them really interested me. I know the Texas Ramp Project is amazing.
Yes.
You can go maybe a minute on that, but this one here, Lackland Air Force Base Humanist Atheist Meeting Volunteer.
Yeah.
Would you quickly go over Texas Ramp Project, couple minutes?
Sure.
And then I want to go on Lackland Air Force Base, and then we'll close.
All right.
So let's talk about the Texas Ramp Project.
So that I got involved with that last January. So it was January 2016 in San Antonio with the Freethinkers Association of Central Texas down there, FACT. So Deb and all those folks down south. Debzilla.
I met her.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
She's a physician.
Yes, she is.
I met her at an ACA brunch when Dan and Annie Laurie Barker was here.
Yeah. She did cover that.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she is. But it's a Texas Ramp Project is a nonprofit organization, and their sole focus is to help low-income individuals with a motor disability and that live in a home that is off of ground level. So every exit or entrance to their home is above ground level. And they custom build ramps. They design, they send out engineers to assess the property, and they build them there on site with volunteers. So FACT, for instance, helped to do that. And that's also partnered with the SSA down at UTSA. They also come out. It's a joint project between those two. And it was awesome, to see people being able to get in and out of the house. The first project we did, she literally couldn't get out the house. Her husband had to literally pick her up and carry her down the stairs because it was her hips or something along those lines was so bad for her. And so to see her being able to come out of the house on her own, her husband was overjoyed because he's in his 60s. And it was amazing to see that. So I brought it to Austin through the ACA in last May. And we got it started doing up here because there's a year-long waiting list, sometimes more than that, for people waiting to get ramps just because there's not enough people out there to help do that. So if anyone's interested in helping out with that, they're all over Texas and in New Mexico and Oklahoma. It's texasramps.org. You just search, or you can just search Texas Ramps Project on Google. Donate, volunteer your time. It's amazing to actually go down and help. So, and they need all the help they can get. They want to do more. They just don't have the people, the volunteers to do so. So,
makes me happy, Phil.
Yeah,
I love hearing this. This is awesome. All right, one more thing. I really am interested in Lackland Air Force Base. When I was a sales rep for a book company, after I quit preaching about 20-something years ago, I became an atheist. I had to do something, so I was a book rep for a company up in Waco, where I'm from. Good old Waco, Texas, where there are more Baptists than people. And So I was a book rep, but I had clients at Lackland Air Force Base. I remember going to the libraries on the Air Force Base and dealing with librarians.
Okay.
But I was unaware that they had any kind of free thinking movement there at all. So go ahead and discuss that real quick.
That was started by one trainee who was in basic training. On Sundays, of course, there's services. There's religious services that go on, and you can either go to religious service or you can stay in the barracks, and that may be assigning cleaning duty or whatever else they have going on to assign to you that if you don't go to one of these religious services. So one person, Taylor, wanted to change that, and that's what really got it started. The first meeting was a collection of 8 people, and it was in a small space. It was just the beginnings of the meeting, but that was a couple of years ago, and now our largest amount of people that we've had has been 1,204 people in a single weekend. 1,204, which is over 20% of the entire trainee population on Lackland Air Force Base.
Wow.
So it's the only meeting like it in the entire Department of Defense. There's no other meeting like it, period. And it's gotten so popular. It's been amazing to see how many trainees come out to go to these. And we talk about, what is humanism? We talk about the coming out process and the ins and outs of that. I love that one because I talk about my experiences coming out twice, one as an atheist, one as a gay person, and how compare and contrast, what are the concerns that went into it. So that's always awesome. Separation of church and state.
Make me happy. Coming out, yeah.
But yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. But separation of church and state is one of the topics. We cover Darwin Day. When that happens, we have a special presentation that goes on for that. But how to deal with grief and stress without a deity or religion in your life. So we have resident psychologists come in to actually talk about different methods that the trainees can use about absolving their grief and relying on your wingman. That's the big in the Air Force world, relying on your wingman. That's your troop that you're initially with. These become your partners. Like, you become very attached to them and you lean on them, and how that dynamic can help the trainees get through lots of the situations that they're going to endure in basic training and then when they're actually deployed in the field. And so it's been a wonderful
I love
just
hearing this. Love it.
actually talking to them. And
So-
I love the trainees. Like, they're
I
awesome.
can tell. I can see your passion. I love this.
I love it.
Yeah, and what a concept, dependent upon reality, real life people, right?
Sure,
Instead
sure.
of somebody in a prayer closet. I mean, and that's the thing that believers just don't understand. We depend upon humanity.
Yeah.
I had a Christian the other day, I had two ladies out passing out Bibles down when I was hiking the other day at Town Lake, and I stopped and I said, "Hey, I'm a preacher too of humanism and atheism." And they're, "Whoa!" So we had a good talk, it blew them away. But I'm explaining all this to them about how we just, as humanism, the humanistic, what was it, the motto or the, oh gosh, I forgot the word. I'm going blank here. But
The
that
manifesto?
manifesto.
Okay.
God will not save us. We must save ourselves. The humanistic message that we have.
Sure.
And they just could not grasp their minds around that. And then, of course, came out, well, humanity's bad. Humanity's evil. So I show them some quantitative evidence on how crime and murder rates and so forth in America are slowly declining. And there's a correlation with secularism, and then there's always a wave of religion that comes back, the Great Awakenings. I'm going to do a message on that. And they're pushing for the 6th Great Awakening, by the way, and I'm going to speak on that pretty soon. So every time there's a push of secularism, there's always going to be a push of religion.
A pushback.
Always a pushback. So we have to fight back. But it's interesting just telling these people that just being human can actually make societal health increase in societies without belief in a God,
And that's what really interests me about the humanist atheist meeting over there at Lackland, because a lot of people are there. Over half of the people that attend are religious believers that come to our service versus their own.
You got to get me there to speak, man. That would be oh man.
Because we go through this whole portion to show how diverse the population is. So we'll say, like, if you're an atheist, stand up, because a lot of people haven't necessarily put that out there ever in their lives before, or have been too scared to do so from their family. So we're saying, stand up if you're atheist or agnostic, identify as humanist. Baha'i religions, we have Norse God followers that are in there. And so we have a lot of, we have Scientologists, we've had Mormons that are in there, just a large plethora of individuals that are there. But
I thought you were speaking in tongues.
yeah. But yeah, over half are religious, and they're hearing the messages that we're putting out, and they're giving their input from their different perspective on those issues. So the coming out speech, a lot of them have showed sympathy for people that are gay and people that are atheists, and coming out and how they've had to, somebody else came out in their family and how they've dealt with it. And there's been a lot of LGBT people that have come up during that particular speech to actually say how they felt when they were able to be themselves, or coming out to their wingmen because their wingmen didn't know when they first got there. And we've had people start crying there while they're up there, like sharing their stories. And it's just been, it's a wonderful thing to hear their different experiences and where they come from. And they're all walks of life from all over the U.S. Everyone comes to Lackland from all over the U.S. for basic training at that particular place. So it's a wide variety of people there. It's wonderful.
I'm overjoyed. I got tears of joy coming down here. Honestly, I mean, I love hearing this stuff. This is so awesome. So I think we probably should end it. And
Okay.
Yeah, I could go for hours and hours.
So could I.
What's that?
I said, so could I.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
let me.
it's a passion with us, and I can tell your passion. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate all you do.
You as well.
And I think in the atheist community, and some people say, well, you're copying Christianity again. No, we're not. It's being human. I think it's good to encourage one another, and we're not worshiping man. Remember, we talked about that before. Like Christians say, well, you're worshiping man. No, we're not. We just encourage one another, and when we see a fellow freethinker, fellow atheist, or humanist doing good things out there as an activist, I believe we should encourage each other and support one another, even if our methodology is different.
Right.
Sometimes there's going to be disagreement in the atheist community. So what? My personality, this is me. I kind of like me, believe it or not, I do, and I'm just going to be me. I can be effective in some ways. Phil's effective being Phil. Everybody's got their own way. We should support one another in the community.
Right, and the more methods that people employ out there, the more impact can be had, because some people are swayed by different methods. Some people like the more aggressive, in your face. Other people like the more compassionate, emotional approach. And so the more approaches that are out there, the better, in my opinion. So.
No, I agree with you. I really do. So there's a lot of work to do.
Indeed.
So thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Of course, thanks for having me. I appreciate it so much.
I really enjoyed it. And well, thanks again for watching the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. Have a wonderful day.